Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Championship Check-In podcast with myself, Benjamin Bloom, and Sam Parkin in the midst of a three-game week. We're hanging in there, Sam. There's been plenty of football to talk about. As ever, we come to you on a Thursday, and we'll try our utmost to look at the two rounds of games that have just occurred. And Sam, it's been a busy midweek for you covering two of these games for TV and radio.
Yeah, I think I touched on it last week. I think it's a really busy time for everyone in football. There's so many different competitions, so many games at the moment. And yeah, I was doing Preston against Norwich on Tuesday, and then over to the Den last night. Not back until after midnight. So yeah, feeling it a little bit this morning, having done breakfast, copious amounts of breakfast for the small people in my house, ferrying them around. So yeah, I'm working on Chelsea today and then back at it tomorrow as well. So yeah, going to try and get a little bit of rest and recuperation in at some point today, like the players. But basically should basically still be playing, shouldn't I?
Amen. Pull back the curtain, by the way. It's 9:30 in the morning. So Sam is doing a massively good shift here. And with that being said, let's head straight over to Parkin's pick. So, Sam, normal deal on these three-game weeks. We're going to look at the teams with the possibility of the fabled perfect 9-point week. And we've got three of them going into the weekend on back-to-back wins for the two games we've played thus far this week. Two of them are right at the top of the table. One is down the bottom. Sunderland, the leaders, have registered two away wins. They've gone to Hull and they've gone to Luton. And you mentioned before on a previous podcast about the optimum setup for a three-game week, and it is not away, home. So fair play, Sunderland. The other two have had two home games. Leeds have beaten two sides that went into the week in the top six in Sheffield United and Watford, two games at Elland Road. They've just tucked in, I think they're one goal difference off the top two now with Burnley there. And maybe the surprising one that we wouldn't have set up for a 9-point week is Cardiff, Sam. And we've sort of, the narrative now is Omar Risa and is he going to get the job full time? Well, probably if he continues winning home games, scoring 7 goals and conceding 0. Okay, you can argue fairly okay fixtures with Plymouth at home and Pompey at home, but 10 points in the last 4 for Omar Risa. Let's start with Sunderland now, Sam, and I'm properly flipped now. This is a real automatic promotion push, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose last night will really focus the mind on, that playoff game from a few years ago where there was obviously echoes of that in the first half in particular. A lot of the Luton players remain and the style, the game plan looked pretty similar. They were going to put them under pressure, try and bully them. And Sunderland, for the second time in quick succession in the last few days, have stood up to the challenge of going away from home and rolling the sleeves up, basically, and showing that there's different ways to win football matches. So, yeah, I think I said maybe on the last podcast that, I wasn't all in on probably Sunderland's defensive setup over the last few years and probably questioned whether if the centre halves were strong enough. Well, I think with the addition of Mepham,
Yeah.
that combination with him and '09 is looking incredible right now. So they had to weather a little bit of a storm, and I thought the wide players had more joy clearly in the second half. Rig having to play, obviously, in a different position, given the change. I think it was just Brown for Roberts, but obviously made a little bit of a rejig, and Rig got a brilliant goal, and Mundell a brilliant goal as well. And obviously, I think there was, when it was playing out live, some questions maybe as to whether Chong was fouled in the middle of the pitch. I'm not so sure. Not so sure. Having seen it back a few times, I think Chong realised that he was probably running out of options. Sunderland able to turn the ball over, and what comes next is just a brilliant goal from a brilliant young player, Mundell, who, I mean, yeah, it's incredible business to think that Jack Clark was so pivotal. They've got a fair chunk of change for him, and they brought him for someone for a fifth or something of the money, and he's performing like that. So what a brilliant few days for them, and it'd be interesting to see what the form looks like and what the rhythm looks like when they take to the field back at the Stadium of Light, because two terrific away wins without playing brilliant free flowing football. That's a lovely characteristic to have if you can roll your sleeves up and get it done the hard way.
I'll tell you what else is a lovely characteristic, Sam, because we've seen this, and I dare say I come from a slightly emotional position about this because it got labelled at Ipswich last year. When you're a surprise at the top of the table and people start calling you lucky, you know you're doing something right. So we should acknowledge bit of a weird goal at Hull with Isidore and the referee getting in the way. And Morris's goal, Sunderland fans are not even going to debate. He's miles onside in the first half. But what I will say is good sides. Everybody gets little strokes of luck for and against them. Good sides take advantage of that. And it's good luck, Sunderland fans. You're going to hear it now for a while while you're surprising everybody.
Oxford, just to draw back to that playoff game as well. I'm not sure who the chap was who sent the tweet, but the team was actually younger last night, the average age, which
no way.
Again just accentuates the point really that the new manager's instilled something, and probably some of the characters a couple of years on, and also the additions of Brown and Mepham in particular, adding a little bit more steel experience. 23 years and 7 months the team last night, and it was around 24 for that playoff defeat. So even younger bunch of lads proving that they can handle the heat.
Benjamin Buttons of the Championship. Oxford at home for Sunderland to get the 9 points. Sam, Leeds, it's fairly straightforward and fairly workaday. I think we kind of touched on the win against Sheffield United in the predictions show. But if you're going away to Leeds this season, it's probably your hardest game of the season. Your keeper can't throw in a couple of goals to start the game. And this feels like it was done and ticked off within 10 minutes for Leeds. And they're just purring now, 6 undefeated and looking very strong, aren't they?
Well, it was done about 6 o'clock, 6:15 when Bachmann got soaked by the sprinkler. Have you seen that?
I've not seen that, no.
Yeah. There's a video. If you go, just click on the Sky app or whatever, you'll see the video of him having his pre-match walkabout, and he gets soaked by the sprinkler and has a few choice words.
Marginal gains, Sam.
Yeah. So, and then the first 7 minutes of the game are catastrophic for him. The first one's a good strike, isn't it? It's moving around a bit. If he'd have kind of dived out the way of it and maybe got a flailing arm on it and it goes in the roof of the net, he probably doesn't look so ridiculous. But considering he's right there, it's a bad error. Looks worse than the second one probably, which Aronson sticks away. So, not a good night for him. And the night where, I spoke to the commentary team on this game, and they said Leeds weren't good at all, really. So, again, similar to Sunderland, I wouldn't say Sunderland's performances were poor, but Leeds not at their free-flowing best in this game by any means, but get the job done. And still, 24 shots on the goal. I watched the extended highlights and it looked like Piru, Joseph, James, to name but 3, all had big chances, golden chances to make it a much more comfortable end to the game. But I think you could tell from Tom Cleverley's demeanour, we're going to come on to Watford, but I think you could tell from his demeanour that he was pretty happy with the way that they responded in that second half, and obviously had some periods of the game where they were looking strong and maybe that they could nick something. But again, the midfield players, it hasn't disrupted Leeds. They look like a well-oiled machine, and I did question whether Daniel Farke would probably be here this season. I did probably question, similarly to Luton, if the lads could switch on and refocus for another season in the Championship. Maybe those fans at Ellen Road in particular just demand it. You can't slacken off. You can't not be fully at it when they're so motivated, the fans, and turning up in numbers and being so vociferous, especially in the home games. So it's going to be another incredible home record, I would suggest. It's just whether they can probably iron out what happened quite a few times early part of last season, where they just had the odd off day on the road. But it's looking unlikely this season. You got to say, the second crack at it, they're looking very strong.
It looked like they got more control than they did. We
Mm.
mentioned many times, much to the annoyance of Leeds fans, about relying on a bit of individual brilliance. They're just controlling games and, as you say, making tons of chances. They go off to Bristol City to finish off the perfect 9-point week potentially. Sam, with Cardiff, let's just move it straight to Omar Ritza, because the question is now really for me not whether you give him the job or not, but how do you do it? Because people I sort of respect are kind of saying, well, just keep it calm, maybe extend out the interim, don't make it the big crash bang wallop announcement, 10-year contract or what have you. But this is the exact type of thing that gets you a job when you're an interim manager, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't been across the intricacies of the shortlist or, where it sits currently. I'm sure that's the first question, probably the first half a dozen questions post match. So I'll probably look at that in the next 24, 48 hours to see exactly where they are with it. But he's given himself an unbelievable opportunity. Sometimes it doesn't translate, does it, when someone who's been a coach gets handed the reins and there's a little bit of freedom and the pressure is alleviated a little bit, maybe. I'm not saying that Errol Bullitt was a bad influence or whatever around the Cardiff dressing room, but I just mean sometimes that freshness just gives the players new impetus, and it certainly feels like that, especially when you look at the lineup. Some lads who I was certainly very excited about joining Cardiff from the outside, who didn't really turn up for the first few weeks of the season, probably partly due to the style. But all of a sudden, like the likes of Robertson and Colwell, Tanner, Robinson. I mean, the front six. It's pretty mouthwatering, isn't it? Really, six, yeah. Turnbull in there, El Ghazi as well. These guys were playing, sporadically early part of the season. Certainly in the case of Tanner, Colwell, Robinson, and that trio have all got something. And at the moment, they're playing with a real freedom and a real confidence and creating an abundance of chances. I mean, this could have been a lot worse for Pompey from what I've seen. Again, I'm going to get stuck into my prep on Pompey because I'm working on their game tomorrow. But, they had 5 big chances, Cardiff, 10 shots on target from 26. Even in the extended highlights, they missed some gilt-edged opportunities. Pompey had a couple late in the day. Yengi had one in particular, but Cardiff are just looking so confident going forward, so free-flowing, and great to see. Great to see Robertson. That would have been sore for Pompey, wouldn't it, seeing him excelling in this game, given that he was there last year and high on their list of priorities going into this new season. But yeah, well done Cardiff, well done Marisa, and I'll be watching on and interested. I'd love to see him get an opportunity. Again, I just feel like the way that they've probably gone and the way that the last seasons have been difficult and ultimately ended in disappointment, really, and relegation battles, so on and so forth. I wouldn't be surprised if it is someone with a bit more championship experience that comes in alongside him.
Interesting. So take a bow. Yeah, Sunderland, Leeds, and Cardiff. Get in the comments if you're a fan of one of those teams, or if you're a fan of one of those teams that those clubs have beaten this week. We'd love to know your thoughts on, are the 9-point weeks going to happen, and the kind of significance of where those sides are, because they're all looking very, very good at the moment. Well, it's the return, Sam, of the public apology segment. And would you believe we've got 3 here? And I'm going to surprise you with one of them because you don't know about it. But I know you watched Preston versus Norwich. And I've just listened to some of your commentary. We need to make, and I'll do this, apologies to Bristol City and Pompey. Because if you watch the prediction show on Saturday's round of fixtures, we both predicted Middlesbrough to beat Bristol City. And even though it was a very Middlesbrough, loads of shots, loads of possession, a great win for Bristol City. And I think Sam and I, both with parents of young children, are very understanding of obviously the incredibly heightened emotions and, kind of poignant scenes at the end of that game. And of course, we send good thoughts to Liam Manning at a tough time. We also Both had QPR to beat Pompey, and Pompey got that first win of the season at the weekend. But Sam, I think you might owe Mr. Shane Duffy an apology, because I was just watching back the goals and you were doing a great job as ever on co-coms for Sky Sports. And you sound a little bit surprised, and I think you might be holding back a bit of a surprised laughter that Shane Duffy's sprinted up the pitch and scored an amazing goal there. So give me your take on Preston Norwich, which you covered for the TV. And maybe a public apology we can give to Mr. Shane Duffy, a lumbering centre-back turning into Rio Ferdinand there.
Yeah, I think it was surprise, wasn't it, more than anything? Rob Palmer, who I was commentating with, long time Sky stalwart, hasn't he? Spanish football, if people remember. But yeah, he was commentating the other night, and yeah, I think we were just surprised. And yeah, it was a beautiful goal. On reflection, it was a brilliant goal, and it probably was the kind of really aggressive substitution at half time and changing formation from Jonas Hofthorpe that allowed Shane Duffy to have a little bit more freedom. Those outside centre halves, they were in a back three with wing backs in the second half. Gave them the opportunity, him and Doyle, to step forward and get involved in attack. So I thought it was a great exchange. It was probably the best thing that Sargent did all night. He's probably just maybe struggling with the amount of games and obviously the amount of travel as well. He didn't look his usual self. The ball came off him quite a few times when he was kind of fed it into feet. But yeah, a good goal. It was a fair result on reflection. You couldn't say that Norwich didn't deserve something out of the game. Preston sat in a lot, and they've got that continuity in terms of the goalkeeper and the back three, which seem to have been together for years. And on this occasion, they flew into a 2-goal lead. So I just thought they're so comfortable in their own skin, Preston North End, that Paul Heckingbottom would have been just stood there rubbing his hands together. Because I think they're the type of side, even though they've changed manager, that could be going into the latter stages at 0-0 and still be quite confident that they can nick something in the game. So to have that 2-0 advantage to hold on to, in essence, I thought was brilliant for them. The timing of the Norwich first signed basically on the halftime whistle, when Jonas Hofthorpe already had his substitute, Cade Gordon, I believe it was. He had him locked in conversation prior to the Norwich first going in. So it was obviously it was a change he was going to make. So, we're going to wing backs. It was a kind of 3-4-2-1 they went to with 2 number 10s. So he's obviously made that decision before
And
Sainz
Sam, quickly,
first.
I think there's a bit of messaging to the players on the pitch sometimes when they know they're going to do it. They send the player out. Everyone sees him warming up and thinks, "Oh, we're about to get a rollicking at half time." Yeah.
Yeah, well, and the reason I wanted to speak about it was because normally a manager, you've scored 2-1. There wasn't a great deal wrong with Norwich's performance in the first half. Preston hit them early with a couple of sucker punches, one terrible mistake from Fisher, the right back, that ended in the second goal, a penalty for the first, goalkeeping error from Long. But back at 2-1, you think the manager might go into the dressing room and go, lads, it's not been perfect, giving ourselves a little bit of a mountain to climb, but we've got a lifeline there, 2-1. We will still win this game playing the same way. He rolled the dice at halftime, which I kind of admired, but I was shocked with as well, because I thought it was quite early to abandon the way that they'd started. But probably the amount of possession didn't equate to great chances for Norwich in the second half. And also, Emil Rees had the big chance of the second half at
Yes.
2-1. So, and again, Paul Heckingbottom would have been stood there and saying, right, we've soaked up so much pressure. This was always the plan. Rees on the shoulder. We will get him in the second half for 1 or 2 opportunities. And he got in and obviously missed that 1-on-1, which would have meant it 3-1 and probably would have been a job well done for Preston. So having not got that goal, Norwich for their persistence and for changing the shape, being bold, and still playing some nice stuff. Thoroughly deserved their draw. But I did feel at full time it felt like a really good few days for Preston. Coventry at home and Norwich at home. That's a good return. 4 points, I think, from where they were start of the season. Norwich, I felt deflation. 2 points from 2 tough away games, a lot of travelling, don't get me wrong. But I think Norwich and their current guys, the way that they're playing, the confidence levels that they've got, the fact that they've probably got the best player in the Championship, maybe Sainz, arguably at the moment, I felt that was a missed opportunity again, as I felt after Stoke as well. So, yeah, listen, they're bubbling away nicely, Norwich, but yeah, that return probably could have been greater from the two fixtures.
Brilliant stuff, Sam. And that was a public apology times 3. So there you go. Who says we don't take accountability for what we say on the internet? Bristol City, Pompey, and one Shane Duffy. Okay, if we were excited about some potential 9-point weeks, we have to do the opposite and flag up some potential 0-point weeks. Sam, there are 3 teams who could potentially fall to the ignominy of a 0-point week. Surprisingly, Sheffield United and Watford, 2 teams that have gone to Leeds and lost this past week, 2 top 6 sides going into this week as well, are on for the 0-pointer. And you can go in a bit more detail on Plymouth because you saw their game at Millwall last night. No surprise, Sam. All 3 of these sides have had to go away for the first 3 games of the 2 games of the 3-game week. Easy for me to say. Sheffield United, Sam, and I've watched both games. I think the worry for Blades fans, and we can get their views in the comments, is attacking and making chances. They look. I know it's a bit of a joke with the Wednesday and the Blades fans about the word blunt, but they do look blunt at the moment up top. And I think you mentioned as well taking Gus Hamer and Callum O'Hare out of the game early against Leeds. Hamer didn't start, and it was Kiefer Moore and Ryan Brewster and Jess Raksaki, and in the end, didn't just really create anything. So I think Sheffield United, we're going to need to see the bounce back to that brilliant 9-game undefeated start. Difficult week, of course, going to Leeds and Borough, but this is the worst case scenario, isn't it?
Do you think it's a little bit of? Do you think it's a little bit of how to set them up as well? I know, there was circumstances that made Chris Wilder change at Ellen Road, and I'm not saying it's the right or the wrong thing to do, but it just feels like, kind of where to place O'Hare, where to place Hamer. It's not obvious to me at the moment. Brewster's playing different roles, and I'm sure this is, the conversation that Chris Wilder, Alan Neil and his staff are having, each morning, how are we going to set up and how are we going to get the best out of these individuals? Because they're all talented, but they probably like to operate in similar areas, in certain cases. And obviously Brewster's a little bit of an issue that he's had some improved performances, but he's not a huge goal threat. And at the moment, Kiefer Moore is not that either. So talented players, but yeah, I'd be interested to know if the Blades fans are just a little bit unsure of if they've got someone who's going to be the poacher for them, or if they need the poacher. We know it can be done different ways, but it looked like obviously Ayling made that brilliant clearance last night, didn't he, for Middlesbrough? I did want to say I loved the Middlesbrough goal. I think it was Azaz who put the pass in.
Ian Wright, wasn't it, that diving header?
Yeah, and there was an angle behind the goal where Latte Lath, I don't know if it was intentional, but he started the header a yard or 2 outside the post and it curled back in. It was I think probably because the angle of the delivery, and it was curling that way, so it naturally had the curl on the header. But what a brilliant pass. I rewound it a few times. It was a lovely pick out.
Very, very much so. I'll round out Sheffield United, Sam, by saying I've covered them a few times. Vinicius Souza, their defensive midfielder, is class at this level, and they missed him a lot last night. I know Peck and Arblast are good young players coming through, but yeah, they're going to look to bounce back at the weekend. They're at home to Stoke. Sam, I think we covered Watford when we were talking about Leeds earlier in the show, and I don't think Watford fans are going to want to hear any more about a week where they've lost to Luton and had a really bad start at Leeds. So talk to me about Plymouth. We know they struggle on the road. They've gone under 5-0 at Cardiff. Okay, there's a red card in that game, which affects the game state a lot. Gone under 1-0 at Millwall as well. And you saw it in the flesh. So talk to me about Plymouth and a possible 0-point week. They play Preston at Home Park at the weekend.
Yeah, well, I've been so nice, haven't I, about Argyle so far this season. I can't be this morning,
No.
unfortunately. I thought they were really poor last night, and it left me just wondering. And I spoke to, did a show on Talksport earlier this week with Hugh Woozencroft, and we had Chris Errington on from, I think, Plymouth Live, and so I asked him about the away record, and he gave me a brilliant answer. Went back about 25 years and saying, this isn't a new problem, Sam. This is a problem that various Argyle managers have had over decades, because of the location, because of the travel. And it sounds like Wayne Rooney is another manager that is wrestling with how best to do it. How do I get these players in the right frame of mind, physically, mentally, to be better away from home? Because they are a shadow of what they are at home park. I saw so many misplaced passes last night. You can accept at any level of professional football, one or two going out of play. There was 3 or 4, 5 passes, played 5-10 yards behind players. And I think that sloppiness was kind of exemplified by Whittaker's performance. I mean, I know that he's capable of getting the ball and smashing one in from 25 yards, but just his care in possession, simple little passes, it must have been so frustrating for those supporters looking on. And I'm not singling him out. I just think it's worth making a point when he's their talisman. So yeah, I was really disappointed with them. You expect with Millwall having a slender lead and passed up opportunities to extend that. Femi Aziz had a one-on-one. There was a couple of other moments. Ryan Leonard had a cross shot from a dead ball. The Aziz was the big one, which would have given Millwall the breathing space, which they deserved. No question. They were far and away the better side. And when Argyle rolled the dice, the shape stayed the same, albeit Obafemi ended the game in a front two. I can't recall who he was alongside, but
Ivanovic, maybe?
No, for
Oh, sorry.
Argyle.
Of course,
Oh,
that's
Andre Gray.
wasn't it? My bad. Sorry.
Andre Gray it was, yeah. Andre Gray. But the shape stayed the same, but basically there was El Hadj in central midfield, holding midfield. So he'd got all his forward players on there, and I'm expecting there to be a real tense 5-10 minutes at the Den, considering I think the magnitude of the game at this stage of the season, because, two teams side by side in the table. Millwall will say, and rightly so, in my opinion, probably haven't quite got the rub of the green or haven't been clinical enough to accrue more points. And Argyle have just got this hellish away record at the moment. So I thought it was a big game, and I felt that Argyle were going to come strong towards the end, and they didn't. There was one. Lucas Jensen has got a habit of not being that commanding in the Millwall 18-yard box, and he dropped one in both halves. And then the second one towards the final whistle, there was a big almighty scramble. But that was it, really. So there was a hardy header in the first half, but just not the creativity you would expect. Still, the possession was nice and the patterns, and I can see absolutely what the impact that Wayne Rooney's had. But yeah, just a bit of a lack of cutting edge last night. And I know there's been some good performances on the road. QPR, you could say, with the 9, the 10 men. Burnley, West Brom, really competitive. But last night was a bit of a wake up call, I would suggest, because 1-0 flattered them. Millwall probably should have won by a more handsome number.
So, cause for concern, 3 potential 0-point weeks for Sheffield United and Watford and Plymouth. Get your thoughts in the comments on who is most or least likely to get that against their name, or hopefully avoid it in some instances. We're going to let you choose the mouth-watering matchup, being we've been so busy. So head over to the Benjamin Bloom Football Channel community tab, where you will see this poll. And Sam, at the minute, we have Derby versus Hull, a playoff semi-final in 15, 16, possibly, if I'm getting my years right, wrong. Always getting wrong. 8%. Watford versus Blackburn has got 11%. A playoff final of the past, Coventry Luton has got 29%. But the mouthwatering matchup So far, with 53%, is Norwich versus Middlesbrough. Go over and vote what you think is going to be the most sumptuous game this week. Sam, we are into the quiz with our good man Fev, Fev's Football Analytics at Fev's Football on Twitter. And we haven't had one of these for about 10 days, have we? So I don't know whether I'm going to be out of practice. Do you want to ask your question first, or do you want me to ask you your question first, Sam?
I'll go first today. You can ask me.
Okay. In the midweek round of fixtures, can you name Christ, the 6 goal scorers who wore shirt number 11? That's ridiculous.
Oh,
4 guesses.
really?
Yeah. Number 11.
Uh,
I'll let you bring the results up, Sam.
yeah, I think I'll go straight in with the first result I've looked at there. How about Brendan Aronson?
Yes. Brendan Aronson is there. You're 1 for 1.
I think I'm quite happy to go for the other game I'm looking at here. What about Callum Robinson?
No, damn. 1 for 2.
Ooh. He got that goal. Norwich was he's 7, is he,
I'm
Saints?
terrible with numbers, Sam.
Stoke, Bristol City. Yeah, it's not my thing either. What about Hadji Wright?
Go on, son. That's 2 from 3.
Okay. I'm quite happy to go with Mendes Lang.
Wow, 3 from 4, Sam. The other
Yeah.
two,
Oh, can I keep going?
you
I'm
can
on a
keep
roll
going. You
here.
only get 4. You only get 4 guesses, but you got 3 points, so you're definitely going to win.
What about Rig?
Rig would have been correct as well.
All right, one more. Who scored last night for? Could be, couldn't it? Could be. No. I just had a. I will go for Fleming, Burnley.
No, the ones
Right.
you missed were Elijah Adebayo. He's magic,
Wouldn't have
you
got
know.
that. Wouldn't have got that. Has he always been 11?
I've got no idea. Luton fans
No,
help
I
us
wouldn't have
out on
got
that one.
that.
Lewis Kumas for Stoke was the 6th.
Yeah.
But mate, 3 from 4 is impressive. And I feel, like they used to say about the Man United players in the 90s, beaten in the tunnel already. I feel like I'm beaten in the tunnel with this. So there
Yeah,
you
it
go.
was funny that I suppose there was quite a few wingers, quite a few flair players that got on the score sheet, so I could
Well, hopefully
use
you've
my noggin
taken
there.
a load of players away from me to help me out, is my thinking, if I'm going to get a number as well.
So your question is, can you name the 6 midweek goal scorers who wore a shirt number in the 20s? So from 20 to 29, obviously. Same rules, 4 guesses to get 0, 1, 2, or 3.
What about Barr for Watford?
No, it's not there.
Damn.
He could be bigger than that, couldn't he? He could be in the 30s.
Who scored for Norwich? Duffy and Science? No. Preston? No. Who scored for Bristol City, Sam? I can't even remember.
Wells got 2.
Wells won't be in the 20s, will he? What
Mate,
about
you've
what about Moran for Stoke?
yeah, he's there.
Yes. Okay, 1.
Was that 1 from 1?
No, I guessed Barr for what?
Okay, 1 from 2.
Mundell won't be, will he? Who scored for Millwall, Sam? You were at the game. Essay. No, he won't be in the 20s. Middlesbrough, Lath won't be.
Would it annoy you if you've already said pretty much every answer?
Right. Okay. Let me retrace my steps.
There's one you haven't referenced. You've referenced pretty much every answer.
Naki.
Yeah, 2 from 3. Wells is number 21.
Okay. And then who else? Romain Essay.
Yeah, 3 from 4.
Yeah, you've helped me out there. I'll tap out there, mate, and take the draw.
No, I'll give you one I'll give you a stab in the dark for the win.
Oh no, I only get 4 guesses, so I can't win it.
Oh, do you? All right. So your other 2 that you referenced were.
Okay. Hull, Simons.
No, he's not there. So the 2, well, you referenced Preston North End. So there's 2 there. Sam Greenwood, and Dwayne. He got a penalty, and Dwayne Holmes got the second. And the other one was the young lad Morgan at QPR.
I think I've just revealed my laziness here, because obviously my preparation has gone right. Sam covered Preston v Norwich this week, so I'm not even going to look at that game. I had no idea other than the Duffy goals who'd even scored, but there you go. Guys, thank you so much for joining us again on the Championship Check-In podcast. We hope you enjoy the schedule. We always move back to a Thursday on a 3-game week, so enjoy the show. Get your thoughts in the comments, and we will be back later today with your round 12 predictions.